You don't scroll by choice. You scroll because you've been trained to. Every sound, every swipe, every notification is part of a system designed not to entertain you, but to own your attention. And attention in the digital world is obedience. They don't need chains or rules, they just need algorithms, because the human brain is programmable, and social media is the code. Every app you open, every post you see, every small hit of dopamine when someone likes your photo, it's not random, it's engineering. In this video, you'll see how social media rewires your brain's reward system, how it uses comparison to shape your self-worth, and how it turns your thoughts, emotions, and habits into predictable patterns that serve the system, not you. This isn't about technology, it's about control. And the first step to breaking it is seeing the design for what it really is. Not a tool, but a trap. You wake up. You reach for your phone before you even breathe. You tell yourself it's just to check the time, but within seconds you're already scrolling. A video, a message, a headline. Your mind shifts from silence to chaos in less than 10 seconds. You weren't curious, you were summoned. Later, you pick up your phone again, not because you need to, but because your brain feels a small emptiness when it's not being fed. That emptiness is withdrawal, a digital craving. You think, I'll just check one thing, but one becomes 10, and 10 becomes an hour. And when you finally stop, you don't even remember what you saw, only that you can't stop looking. This isn't weakness, it's wiring. Social media has learned more about your impulses than you've ever learned about yourself. It knows when you're lonely. It knows what makes you jealous. It knows what keeps you scrolling at 2 a.m. because it built that version of you. And every time you give it your attention, it feeds on it, grows from it, and teaches your brain to come back for more. Now let's look at how this control begins, not in your thoughts, but in your chemistry. It starts with a sound. A notification, a red dot, small, harmless, addictive. Every platform is built on the same psychological equation, variable reward. You never know what you're going to get. A message, a like, a comment, a view. That unpredictability is what makes it powerful. Because your brain releases dopamine not when you get the reward, but when you anticipate it. That's why you keep checking. That's why it's never enough. You're not chasing content, you're chasing the chemical rush that comes before it. The platforms learned to use this against you. They turned your biology into their business model. Every scroll, every tap, every ping is perfectly timed to keep your reward system activated just enough to crave more, but never satisfied enough to stop. It's the same mechanism used in slot machines, but here the casino is in your pocket. And the longer you play, the more your brain learns one dangerous lesson. Discomfort ends when I scroll. That's obedience at a neurological level. Because once your brain links relief to the act of checking, the platform doesn't need to convince you anymore. Your own chemistry will. The hardest truth, you're not addicted to the phone. You're addicted to the version of yourself that exists inside it, the one that feels connected, seen, validated, and the algorithm knows that version better than you do. The second mechanism isn't chemical, it's emotional. It's called comparison programming. Humans are wired to compare. In tribes, comparison helped to survive. Who's stronger, faster, safer? But social media turned that instinct into self-destruction. Now every scroll is a mirror that lies. You see success, beauty, wealth, but never the truth behind it. And your brain doesn't know it's fake. It only feels less. That less triggers a drop in dopamine and serotonin, the same chemical imbalance linked to anxiety and depression. And just when you feel that drop, the algorithm feeds you something uplifting. A funny video, an inspiring quote, a flash of hope. Your brain learns pain, scroll, relief, sadness, scroll, pleasure. You're being trained to regulate your emotions through the screen. But here's the twist. Every time you compare yourself, the algorithm records what made you feel insecure. And next time, it shows you more of it. Because nothing keeps a person more obedient than the constant feeling of not being enough. That's why you stay. Not because you're entertained, but because you're emotionally tethered. You crave validation because the system designed you to. It created a psychological loop. Show insecurity, trigger emotion, offer comfort, repeat. That's not connection, that's conditioning. And every like you chase is another chain you fasten around your own mind, willingly, habitually, beautifully disguised as belonging. By now, the system doesn't need to manipulate you directly. It already knows what you'll do next. This is behavioral looping, the third and most advanced form of control. Every scroll, pause, comment, or hesitation is data, and every piece of data teaches the machine who you are, what you fear, what you desire, and what keeps you watching just a little longer. That's how it learns to predict you. At first, it only recommends content, but over time, it starts shaping it. Not to reflect what you want, but to create what keeps you compliant. You think you're choosing, but your choices are being curated, fed back to you in loops of emotional predictability. When you're lonely, it shows faces. When you're angry, it shows outrage. When you're numb, it floods you with stimulation. You react, you click, you scroll, and the system adjusts in real time. It doesn't need to tell you what to believe. It just keeps showing you things until believing becomes effortless. That's not personalization. That's possession. You've been reduced to an algorithmic shadow, a predictable echo of your impulses. And once behavior becomes predictable, obedience becomes automatic. But there's one flaw in the system. One thing it can't predict: awareness. Because awareness disrupts patterns, and the moment you see the loop, you step outside of it. Social media didn't steal your attention, it trained it. It rewired your brain to crave reward, to chase validation, to confuse endless scrolling with purpose. But awareness is the antidote, because the moment you start watching how you scroll, you stop scrolling unconsciously. You notice the silence between swipes. You feel the emptiness after dopamine fades. You realize that every second you give away is another piece of your will being sold. The system can predict emotion, but it can't predict consciousness, and that's where freedom begins. You don't have to quit social media, you just have to stop serving it. Use it like a tool, not a temple. Observe, don't obey. Consume, don't be consumed. Because the truth is simple. The algorithm doesn't control people who are awake. Once you see the design, you break the spell. And from that moment on, you don't scroll to escape reality. You scroll knowing who's trying to shape it. Subscribe to the channel and don't stop at this video. They're still using tricks you haven't noticed yet. The next video will show you exactly how they do it. And once you see it, you'll never see people the same way again.